Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Every time I hear Ozzy go off, because I used to have a ringtone, so every time he'd go all aboard, then I'd go for my phone, and every time I go look at my phone to see if it's going off.
Yeah, that was a cool intro.
Thank you. Oh, well, we got quite a few people in here. Um, well, why don't you guys tell us about yourself and your channel and everything, and we can pretty much go from there.
So I'm Jason. This is Tara,
Yes.
and we're Whiterock Homestead.
Mhm.
We kind of, as we chatted just a couple of seconds ago, but we moved from Michigan. We sold our home that we had up there and moved down here to North Central Arkansas. Bought our land, doing it debt free. The proceeds and everything that we made from selling our home up there are paying for us to do everything down here. And main focus is self-sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We bought pretty much raw land. It wasn't totally raw, but it had been untouched for about 20 years. But there was no permanent living structure or anything like that. We got lucky to have power to the property. Just had to upgrade it, and there was a well.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't know if it worked or not. Very lucky,
Oh,
fortunate that it did. Yeah.
that's good. I've
Yep.
I've came across property before that was 20, 30 years, and we dropped a pump down in there and it just kicked right out,
Mhm.
and plenty of water.
I think, yeah, when we called the power company, they said the last time power was here was like 2013, I think.
Oh, okay.
And so, but there was a big foundation, a block foundation someone started, but it's probably sat vacant. I'd say minimum 15 years, but close to pushing 20 with the size of trees that I cut out from inside the
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah.
Um,
It was pretty overgrown, and we spent the last 10 months clearing where we knew that we wanted, and there was a real small, tiny, like, what was it, 10 by 12
12
shed?
by 12.
Yeah. And we've kind of added on to that. We're making it our own little tiny house, and so we've been working really hard at that. And then, well, even before we got working on that, the infrastructure for getting some sustainability was super important. So that meant chicken coop, greenhouse for the garden, and getting all those things going, because the time frame dictated that it did. And the way things are going, you just need to make sure you got food on the table.
Yeah. Um, how do you like the difference between the north and the south? I'll put it that way.
So,
Yeah.
personnel wise, love it. Like the people down here, way better.
Mhm.
Everybody's super friendly, and the pace. So that was one of the reasons we chose Arkansas. Was one of the big keys was the price of the land and availability
Yeah.
and the views.
Yeah.
Like we didn't want flat land. We didn't, we wanted something that if once I cleared some trees, we could have the views. Um, and where we moved from in southern Michigan was pretty hilly country,
Hmm.
but we just couldn't buy more land where we were at. We were stuck with the acre and a half, and that just wasn't enough for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Now the
It's
summers
so expensive
have
up
been a
here.
yeah, the summers have been a little bit to get used to again. Now I spent a lot of time. I guess part of the intro on us was I'm a retired Marine.
I'm a retired nurse. Forgot
Yeah.
that part.
And so I spent all of my career in warm weather climates, mainly in North Carolina. And then when I retired out of Georgia. So I'd only been back in Michigan probably 5 years,
Mhm.
something like that, 5, 6 years before we moved. And so there's a little bit the temperature in the summer. It gets
Yeah.
humid up there, like we know it, but it just stays. Like at least up there in the evenings, it would cool down a little bit.
This is one of the few
No,
times we've been able to sit outside.
yeah, it stays like 1,000,000%
But
humidity all the
I would
time.
much rather take the heat of the summer versus the frigid cold of the winters.
Yeah.
And that was no fun. So,
Yeah.
but we're loving it. We love Arkansas. We love
Mike Jones, Cherry Point.
what?
Oh, I see Mike Jones said Cherry Point. I was at Camp Lejeune.
Marine stuff.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known what Cherry was. But
My son's in the Army, still in the Army.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's actually deployed over somewhere I don't want him to be deployed.
Yeah.
But
They typically don't deploy us to like Disneyland and all the fun places.
yeah. Well, I hear all these deployments that people getting deployed in Japan and Korea, and so far he's been deployed in Syria when the stuff was going on, and Kuwait, Jordan, and now where he's at now, which I can't say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Tammy says, I'm in Michigan up top. Oh, up top in the fingers.
I've noticed a lot of people are going to Arkansas. I know a lot of people that YouTubers in Arkansas.
Yeah, there's I mean, before we moved, we only knew of the big channels in Arkansas. We didn't know anybody else. And so like we were watching Simple Life Reclaimed, we were watching Country Road Cure. I think we started watching David had come on, but I don't know if that was once we got to Arkansas or
no, I think it
was right before,
because we were watching the other channels and they were coming
and
in.
so we knew there was some here, but when we would search it on YouTube, those were the only ones that came up.
Oh,
and now we've met several more, and we know a lot more that are coming. So
yeah, it's almost like all the outer lying states are moving in towards Arkansas.
and well, you got Oklahoma and Missouri, and that's like a belt of YouTubers right there.
It is, but it's really great. We've gotten to know all of them. We've hung out. We've done different projects together. We're getting ready this next week to go twice over to the west side of the state to help other channels as well. So just continuing to build that community, not just for the whole YouTube aspect, but one person can't be a master of everything, but everybody together can be a master at doing it all together. So that's kind of the mantra. We take our shared knowledge and share it with our friends and close I call them friends now because I don't even refer them as channels, but and just share that knowledge because we're all in this together and we're all trying to do the same things, just doing it just a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's what I liked about that area. It seems like everybody goes over, oh, I got to get this done. Everybody's there already.
Yeah.
You don't even have to ask.
Yep.
Speaking of, Gage popped in. Hey,
Gage. Howdy, dude.
And that's the way it used to be, on farms and stuff. When it was time to harvest, everybody come over and you had a picnic, and the men went out and harvested everything, and then.
Yeah,
I know, and I've had that conversation with a lot of people, and even my brother here recently, was. Today's generation, we all think, oh, we're inventing something awesome and we're doing all these awesome things. And like he had went over and I think he was talking to our grandfather about like the deep litter method for your chicken run or your hen house. And, you know, he went over to him all excited, like, hey, I just found this new thing on the internet. I'm going to, you know, and Grandpa's like, that's great. We did that when I was a kid. Like there's, you know, so it's kind of fun that we're reverting back because especially with everything going on in today's society, like everybody got away from that.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything's got to have a title, which is crazy and insane. You know, we call it homesteading, but our grandparents just said, hey, we got to live. Like they didn't have to put a title on it. Like I'm
Yeah.
living. That's what I'm doing. And, you know, but today's age, you got to have a title. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I don't refer to myself as a prepper or anything. Because a lot of people come to watch my prepping stuff. And there's some people that get mad because I show gardening stuff, and that's not prepping. Like,
How is that not? Yeah,
I
I'm.
don't
well,
know.
it's all part of it, you know, and that's,
Yeah.
I mean, this is our homestead. Like whether we were going to do a YouTube channel or not,
We would
Mhm.
still be doing
this
this.
is our, you know, this was considered, this is our homestead.
Yeah.
And, you know,
We just
there's
happen to be
been,
filming it.
yeah, there's been all this chatter amongst, you know, everybody really within YouTube, you know, like getting stuck in one niche or one genre.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like you're saying, everyone's going to come and like, well, why are you doing that? That's not part of prepping. Well, you know, people ask, you know, why are we doing something other than, you know, we throw out a gardening video and then we throw out a build video and then we throw out a canning video. Like, that's what we love with ours. And even when people do try to come at us with, well, that's not homesteading. Well, look up homesteading, check out the definition and tell me what it is. Like
Mhm.
everything that we're doing right here involves something for my homestead, whether it's to feed me, whether
Yeah.
it's just to let me relax and catch my brain again. You
Right,
don't,
Empress. I agree.
you don't need to get stuck in that one.
That's what I like. It's very hard for me to really get into a channel if they just focus on that one thing. I
Mhm.
would rather know the people and then watch what they do. You know, like you just made a video going out and getting the pork and then grinding it up for sausage.
Yep.
I enjoyed that, and
Thank you.
that's to show people that you're in a camper and you're still preparing.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and from a homesteader's perspective, I try to do and show everything, but still keep it, you know, entertaining of everything that we're doing because we are all inclusive, you know, try to be that whole all inclusive homestead. But, you know, how the YouTube algorithms are, they love those one little tiny niches. And, you
Yeah.
know, the other ones may not perform as good as like the build ones, but we're all right. I'm fine with it because there may be another homesteader out there that doesn't know how to do that, and I just was able to help. So
Yeah.
I'm still going to continue
Well,
to
and
do
it's all part of it,
videos.
you know,
Yeah,
like
it's all part of
even
it.
our grandparents were, you know, somebody would look at them and, well, they're a prepper. You know, that kind of goes back to that whole thing where
Yeah.
everything's got to have a label all of a sudden.
Hmm.
You know, like homesteaders, they might as well be preppers too.
They were preppers before the
You know,
word
like
prepper.
you're only, whether even just a farmer, they're prepping. They've got to bale the hay in the summer to prep for the winter. Like it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything that, you know, I mean, am I trying to grow enough crops to feed us for 5 years? No, but I'd sure like to make it through the winter, you know,
Yeah.
and take a huge dent out of our grocery bill, which we already have. So I see what, you know, my kids are spending for groceries, you know, for their families. And I'd hate to be a full on huge family right now if the prices that they are, if I didn't have the homestead to provide. It's pretty scary out there.
I guess there's a question for you.
yeah, I just seen that. So I'll give him two answers here in a minute. For the first one there that's highlighted, Mike, no, I've never heard of it. I'm going to write it down in my phone now. And
Oh,
then two was he'd asked if I'd gig for Flounder. No, but I did catch him on a regular line.
I was sitting here looking for a question.
It's
Yeah, I see that now.
But
Takes me a
B
minute.
Charming did put the thing on there. The county I live in, homesteader me with my taxes, so I'm a homesteader.
Nice.
And I guess that's where a title does benefit you a little bit is,
Yeah.
if we've got the homestead.
Depending on the state.
Yeah.
Because homesteaders are frowned upon in certain states.
Oh, for sure. Well, and they're again putting people in categories and putting people in boxes. I just think that, the homesteaders people tend to think a little bit more for themselves. So it's not like you're following the script that they want you to follow. And so they tend to not provide as much likability on the tax part. Yeah.
And like the Great Depression, that was, and preparing and homesteading and stuff now is, I think, real important to get back to those old times, because you've seen what happened, when the sickness came about, and they're talking about it coming back and locking things down again. So
I'm glad I'm not acting or practicing in nursing right now again.
Oh,
because I got really burnt out going through that whole thing. So I'll gladly take a step back and let all the new nurses deal with it.
Yeah, that was horrible stuff for.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And that's kind of, like when we push out the community, kind of what you'd mentioned earlier was, we all, like, the closest ones that we know to us that we are close friends with, and actually one of them's in here, Gage Grady, is the Grady's, is, but they're still an hour away. And they were just over the other day and we were talking about it, and it's like, when it hits the fan, can we do anything for one another being an hour away? Maybe, maybe not. Like, just depends on the situation. But them bringing their knowledge base and experience on certain things, because like they've been in Arkansas for 2-3 years now, so they are a little more familiar with the area, what will grow, what won't grow, that kind of stuff. And that's the great part that we love going to help everybody and hanging out with everybody, is just getting to know more that we don't know.
Learning,
because like the growing thing, I mean, we had a decent garden. It produced quite a bit of fruit for us this year, but we've never grown anything in the South. We've never grown anything in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I had a homestead in Ohio that I built 13, 14 years ago, and had it right before we moved to Michigan, or I moved to Michigan. And, none of it's new to me. None of it's fresh for me, but it all is different when you move to a different zone. And so learning all of those, things that might, dates mainly, like, oh, I've got to get this in the ground by this date. Well, it's in Arkansas now. I don't have to. So, I mean, learning how to redo everything for this climate down here has been a challenge. And I did see that one question, if there, be it asked if I had heard there's a shortage of nurses now. Yes, there's been a shortage of nurses. And I won't say I'll never go back, but right now it's not in the plans. But yeah, there's been a shortage of nurses for quite some time. And that's a sad thing, because when the nurses don't feel supported, they're going to leave. And the whole system needs to change, I think, for that to change. So,
well, the fact that they pretty much forced a lot of them out because they wouldn't get the juice. And that was the sad part. They were working at places. I know a few over here that's been working there for over 20 years. And well, you can't work here if you don't get the juice.
Yep. I was fortunate. I did work for a company that it did grant me a religious exemption. So I did not have to do that. But there were many who, up until that date, still had fear that they were going to lose everything. And they, against their better judgment, they did it anyway. We had already discussed it at length. And it was not something that we were ready to budge on. And me as a nurse, I would not budge on it. And so we were prepared for me to take an early retirement so that I wouldn't have to make that decision. But fortunately, I got to work a little bit longer because I was granted that. So
Yeah, which my son was coming back from deployment, he had a couple choices. And he was due to get married when he came back from deployment. And when they landed, they said you have a choice. You get the juice, and then you can go off campus or off base. And that was the only way he could get married.
oh wow.
Yeah. He wasn't planning on it, but well, it's military, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it made me glad. Like I retired in 2015, so then there's so many things that came down after I retired that just I was bummed to have to retire because I wasn't quite done. You know, like I kind of thought, hey, I still got some more years in me, and but it was based into, you know, kind of forced into an early retirement situation, and I was glad they did. You know, after all that came down, I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even since my son's been in, he said it's changed because at boot camp, you know, he had to do, well, he got yelled at in boot camp.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to yell at him now.
Right.
And like going in with the walking in with the tear gas. You can opt out of that and just walk around the building now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was
And
part of the funniest thing.
and my son sat there because he was there. He had to mark down if they went through or not. He had to mark down if they didn't, and he said 90% of them skipped it because they were too afraid to go through it.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he said it. He said it. He enjoyed it until, you know, coming out and crying like a baby and
Oh, it
snot
clears
coming out
everything out.
everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's a good time. Like you go in and take your mask off on purpose just to get the full effect, and
Yeah.
it doesn't taste great, but you
Oh
do it.
no.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, because I when he was going through boot camp, they took pictures of everything, and I got the close up picture of him coming out, snot coming down and everything. He says,
Oh, sorry, that was my
I was trying to shush him out of the way so I could get air.
Oh, we
Yeah.
have our cabin in the woods. popped
Tony
in.
and Angie, hello.
Hi guys.
Hey
And
Tony.
Susie, I saw you put a comment on there that you're allergic, you know, with the flu shot and stuff. And I the only time I've ever had the actual like influenza A, influenza B shots was when I was in nursing school because it was mandatory. And I've never been sicker. And once it became an option, it was an option. And it was
Well,
an option.
that's
Fine. So
if you
I
got real sick, they said that's you got a good immune system.
oh yeah. I tested positive for the flu I was vaccinated against. So yeah, for sure. Definitely. And then Dana had said that her daughter is a nurse and had to take a night shift into rehab because she wouldn't get yeah. We did see that a lot. That was just something, you know, when you're talking about rehabs and LTCs and things like that, that's not your prime employment. And so they were a little bit more nice about the religious exemptions. So what that allowed us to do though was to kind of pat our coffers of nurse staff coming from the bigger hospitals, the compact hospitals and things like that, that they were getting out, you know, they were getting fired because of it. And it gave them a place to go. And it also increased our staffing at the rehabs. So I wasn't upset about that, but third shift, yeah, I'm not a third shifter. It'd be peace out homie for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually know like 3 nurses from where I go to the doctor over here, and they got, you know, the first one, the second, and the third, or how many other ones there is after that, and they've had the sickness 4 times. Some had it more than that, and what was the point of, you know? And they had to, though.
Yes.
That was the only way they kept working, and unfortunately they were single parents trying to, and that's, you know, you either feed your family or you get the juice thingy.
Oh yeah, I mean, I never looked down on anybody that got it or didn't get it. It was, and that was what was supposed to be our beauty of anonymity and being autonomous, is we're all given a brain to make those decisions for ourselves, and that's the beauty of what America was that you could make those choices. So I applaud anybody to make that choice for themselves, whether it was what I did or what I didn't.
Oh, as long as they're giving you a choice.
Yeah,
right.
That's the thing, the choice.
Point. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, when it comes down to, you know, you have a choice to feed your family or you don't. That's and you can't very well go to another place because everybody's has that same choice.
Right. And I think that's where, you know, as a society, we've gotten so conditioned into consumerism and materialistic rewards, to where so many people are now like slaves to their jobs because of their debt or whatever they've, you know, spent their money on, because society tells you that that's what you need, that's what you have to have. And then when that time came, they had to make the decision they made because they didn't have another choice financially. So it's a big circle. Definitely.
So what plans have you guys got coming up for your channel?
Oh,
a lot of building,
I don't know if we have enough time to go through all of those. First and foremost is our push is on to finish the tiny house. We want to be in the tiny house by winter, and we're on track for that. It's the little things, y'all. It's like the little things that you go to do one little thing and oh crap, there's another little thing. And then so you're trying to wrap up all the little things. And then once we finish the tiny house, we're going to be, I would say maybe projects would be twofold, because the barn is going up after the tiny house is done. But then also we're going to be working on our trail system. So, and though we like to have, if you watch our, sorry, I had a bug. If you watch our channel, you'll see that we're not a stickler for start a project, finish the project, and then move on. We're kind of more squirrel people, where we'll have 3 or 4 different projects going on at one time. But for us, that's what works, because we'll get tired of a project and then we always know we can bop over and do this other project, and then we're refreshed, and then we can bounce back to the other project. So for us, we always have multiple projects going on, and at some point we finish them and then we move on and start another one.
Looking forward to winter, though, of more land clearing.
Yeah.
I mean, we moved here in
December is when we came onto the property.
Yeah. And so we were able to do enough clearing to get a few things done. But then by the time spring rolled in and the leaves started coming in, the ticks are horrible. And so it was basically look at the woods, but don't step into it. And so
when we moved down here, almost every single person we run into, they'd be like, so you know about the ticks? I'm like, I lived in Ohio in the middle of a cornfield. Of course I know about ticks. No, I had no clue that so many of ticks existed, and they're willing to eat you at all costs. And
I hear that a lot.
We were not. I know I wasn't.
But the nice
prepared
thing has been the areas that we've cleared and kind of pushed back,
Mhm.
and then I put some treatment down, so you can walk around in our areas that we have kind of open, designated where things are at, and it's not bad. But if you get off into the untreated areas, then
And
and
into the
we're full
jungle.
of nothing but cedar and oak. That's
Yeah.
my whole property is cedar and oak trees. And
Yeah. So funny story when we were adding the bathroom onto the tiny house, we put the camera up. It was time lapse, so you couldn't hear us talking, and of course we're moving quick. But we were into the project, totally forgot the camera was rolling, right? Total wall was pulled out of the house, so it was open, right? I felt something on the back of my leg, and this is January or February, wasn't it? And I thought, oh no, oh no. And I just dropped my britches right then and there. And he had to come in, and I had a tick on the back of my leg in January or February. I can't remember exactly when it was. And it wasn't until later when I was doing the editing that I was reviewing the footage.
Whoops.
Whoops. Yeah. So I conveniently edited that out, but I couldn't believe I had a tick in the middle of winter. And I don't even know if we'd done anything other than just like walk around the property. Yeah. And then once they came out in the spring, it was on like Donkey Kong. It was bad. Yeah, it was bad. But it has been getting better now that we've cleared the area, like you said, and we put granules down. It's actually probably time to do them again. So because of the ticks, we haven't wanted to go into the woods.
yeah,
Yeah, but we will soon. We will soon. I'm ready to get back to the creek. We have a beautiful creek at the bottom of the ridge, and that's where we're going to be building another cabin. That one will be completely off grid, and we're going to be naming that one Walden. And it's going to sit by the creek, and it's going to be our happy place. Well, I mean, the whole thing's a happy place, but
Yeah.
it's going to be our completely disconnected happy place.
Yeah.
One thing that I seen about, because I'm subscribed to a lot of people are building their houses and stuff. You get a lot of people, oh, why ain't you done with that yet, or whatnot, and they don't realize that if you was to, go and build it in 24 hours or whatnot, what are you going to come back and watch if that's all you're there is to watch them build?
Yeah, and that's been a big topic amongst
They want you to hurry up and, well, you should be done with that room already.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they're sitting on their couch typing the comment from a keyboard.
Yeah.
We're glad they're watching.
Yeah.
And we look at those comments and smile, and we heart it, we like it, thank you, we
Yeah.
appreciate
But we
it.
don't really get a lot of those though.
It does, like we've well, our friends at Grady's, they're like 2 years, and we just got we went over and helped, and big move that they finally got trusses
Yeah.
put up, and but it takes time. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't understand, especially if they don't live in the South or like in our area, is you get a few hours in the morning, and then you get a few hours in the evening,
And then it gets
but the middle of the day you're shut down unless you have an air conditioned like place. And we're all so like just starting building our properties that it's our campers that we have to just go in there and find solace for the heat of the day, because you're up north, and we'd actually came up to Michigan the third week in July or something, second or third week in July. We were up there for a couple weeks, and we'd almost forgot, even though we'd only been gone for 10 months, that we're up north again. You can actually go out and be in the sun when it's out, because you couldn't do that down here.
We had a better tan up there for sure. And I think also too is, you can't film everything you're doing. And we're not just building a tiny home. We're working a homestead.
Yeah.
So that means chores every morning. Our garden was huge. I got the greenhouse put up and thought it'd be a cool idea to overplant because I didn't think it would all germinate, and ended up with ended up with over 300 tomato plants, 200 and
Oh,
some
man.
zucchini plants. We're talking, you have to go back and check
There's
those
only
out.
3 of us on our property, by
Yeah.
the way. Like, that's all that
Yeah.
we're feeding, and our son doesn't even eat most of what we grow in
Yeah.
the garden anyways.
So, but yeah, I think people, and I don't record every single day I'm working in the garden for 2 hours. You know, no one wants to see, you know, maybe once a week give an art garden update, or, you know, this is what we rebuilt, this is what I replanted, or this is I'm going to harvest. But people aren't going to tune in and watch the day-to-day
Oh, no.
stuff that you do on a homestead. And I found that, you know, trying to cross my time between domestics and building is a balance. And now throw in the element of editing and, you know, making sure the channel's going good. And, you know, Jason and I, we love to work projects together. And sometimes we just have to divide and conquer because domestics, you know, I mean, somebody still has to do laundry, you know, and things like that. I saw that. So Wildlife, I actually screenshotted my phone when I saw that pop up. He says, speaking of Walden, today in history, 1847, Henry David Thoreau leaves Walden and moves in with the Emersons. That's so cool. If y'all have not read Walden, I highly think y'all should. It's an amazing book. If you like the old way of the old English way of writing and reading, but just the concepts alone just makes you stop and sit back and wonder, you don't, you know, and realize that you just don't need all the stuff. So that's cool. Yeah, I did screenshot that comment because I want to be able to mark this day. Yeah. What?
Bee Charming had asked about a water wheel in the creek.
Ooh,
And
that would be fun.
yeah, we got to do some more clearing down there. It's more of a seasonal creek. It's not a constant. Not that we know that it's constant flowing.
We think there might be a real small
spring that feeds
section
it,
of
but
it that is. But
there's a lot of blockages from it being unmaintained. So
and we need to clear the blockages and hopefully reinstate all of those flows. It's a project, you know, and even if when we do get done with the tiny house and we start working on other projects, we are not at a shortage of projects. We both love to build. We both come from a builder's background. We have plans for multiple cabins here on the homestead. So we're never going to be a shortage for content when it comes to building at all.
Animals. How many animals do you guys have?
So we're up to, I think the last count was 17 chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 3 breeding rabbits.
Well, 17 plus the 5 chicks.
Oh, yeah. So whatever the math is on that. I'll
23.
refer everybody back to I was a Marine, so mathing's hard. Yeah, we do have 5 chicks. And then the 3 breeding rabbits. And then we have 5 meat rabbits that day now when we decide they're going to freezer camp.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And
we had 10, but we lost 5 with the heat.
It was bad. That brutal heat that was like 120 and whatever, wind chill, whatever. But we do plan on adding hogs. I raised hogs in Ohio when I had my homestead there, butchered them myself. So I fed my family. So we just are working on getting the infrastructure done for having the hogs. And then one thing that I have never had is a goat. So I want dairy goats. I want dairy goats because I want to make my cheese. I want to make my butter, and they're cool. I mean, goats are cool. And so we have plans for goats, and then we're just getting ready to order our meat birds. We'll be getting 40 meat birds to raise out and harvest. When I love raising meat birds. They're just such an easy crop to grow and eat out and butcher.
They get so huge.
Yeah. So
compared to a regular chicken, regular laying chicken.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're little Frankensteins. I mean, I would love to be like, oh, I'm all organic. I'm all no pesticides. No, if there's a squash beetle on my plant, I'm going to throw 7 dust on it. And I'm sorry, I've tried the way of the Freedom Rangers. not crazy about it, and so it's going to be a Cornish cross. And I think everybody needs to make those decisions for themselves. And on my heart, I'm good as long as it's in the freezer and I can cook it and
Yeah.
wash it off. So
That's the main point. It's in the freezer.
yep. And then we're both hunters, so we're really looking forward to hunting season this year. Should be able to butcher. Oh shoot! If it's brown, it'll go down as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, our tags I think are 5 apiece.
You guys got the smaller end of the. Nobody realizes that until they've been to Ohio and Michigan and area.
Oh yeah,
deers are a bit bigger up here.
There,
It's
I
a
that
hard
good old corn-fed
Yeah,
deer.
it's a hard transition to hunt in the South. I remember North Carolina, the deer were really small. You're 6-month-old fawns are bigger in Michigan than 3-year-old deer, and so that was a bit of a train. Even hunting, I did a lot of hunting for deer and hog in Georgia, and yeah, it was a good thing they let you get multiples because you need it. I mean, I think 3 deer in Georgia processed out. I end up only putting out of all 3 was 90 pounds of meat in my freezer, and that was it.
Yeah,
I'm like, I get that off one up north, but
yeah, we'll take what we get. If we just have to do multiples, then we do multiples. So Ragnar says, the more people I meet that are going back to the old school of things, which he enjoys, and that's true. And
yep,
it absolutely is true. I agree, and I can't argue with that statement because that's awesome.
Tony and Angie gonna be busy. I got 49 going to freezer camp.
Right?
Oof.
And they're getting their Berkshire pit, and you're gonna breed them. See, I never bred anything when I had my homestead in Ohio, because in Ohio, if you didn't have a full-on operation, you got your piglets in the spring and you butchered them in the fall. Because Ohio winters, well, and Michigan and anywhere, the calories they expend to stay warm is actually money out of your pocket in feed cost. And they're not putting on significant amounts of weight. So to winter over hogs or chickens or anything up there, it really just wasn't feasible. So I never bred any hogs. I would just get them as piglets, feed them out, butcher them, put them in the freezer. But knowing that y'all are going to be doing Berkshires, not opposed, might be hitting you up for those, because
it's a bit of a road trip.
I don't care. We like road trips.
Okay. You heard her, Tony.
Yeah, we do enough road trips, but I'm good with that.
Yeah, everything would. I don't think there would be as much conflict with everybody if things were back the way they were. Everybody going over helping somebody, and nowadays it's like, oh, I don't want to help you. Let me go home.
Or they'll be like, what's in it for me?
Yeah, that's the big transition.
That's the problem.
Was, when we got away from everybody helping one another, you help your neighbor, like, why buy all the equipment yourself when the guy down the road has the equipment you can borrow and you've got stuff he can, like, interchanging equipment, tools, all that kind of stuff, services, like within our friend group, like, everyone's excited because, like, she knows how to butcher everything. And I'm man enough to say that I won't even grab the butcher knife to process anymore. Like, I'll quarter it out and then I'm done. I give it to her. Like, who can do it 3 times faster than me, and she's proved it, and I'm fine with that. Like, you know what? I don't like doing that part anyway. So I'll get you the bags and do all that stuff.
I worked my way through nursing school, working in a butcher shop. So
today's society is more about, well, I'll help you, but I have to benefit more than what you're going to benefit out of my help. And that's just crazy. And so that's a big part of what we're enjoying with everybody that we're meeting down here, is there's nobody that's way. Like, we're not friends with anybody or associate ourselves with anyone that's their goal. Like, we help one another just out of the kindness of our hearts, like, because we like doing that.
We never expect anything in return. We never count. Well, we learned that up north. sadly, your family will teach you that lesson real quick, that you do everything for them. And
That was exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
he is turning on the light. I thought the light looked okay. It adjusted fine. The sunset is just right over here.
The little, even the little things like getting a ride or whatever. Well, okay, but you have to pay for the gas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I went through it. So Chris Pye had asked where he had missed it, and we're in north central Arkansas.
Yeah, we're only a few short miles from the Missouri line. So we kind of get the best of both worlds, because Missouri's got benefits that we like to go up there and get, like a little bit cheaper gas.
Well, their sales tax is a lot less there
Their
than
sales
what we have
tax is a
here.
lot less. They have an Aldi. So, for the staples and stuff. So, yeah, we go to Missouri quite often just because it's a little bit different than where we're at.
if it's close enough, yeah.
Yeah.
It better than all you have in Walmart around.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I mean, our closest town, that is the main source. And I mean, we tried to go. There are a couple local, like, grocery stores, but their pricing is just crazy. Like, we want to buy local. We would rather support it local. But,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm not going to go broke trying to just, buy the same thing. So, but we typically plan it out. I mean, that was the big point of the garden and raising the animals, is less trips to the grocery store. So when we do go, it's more of those long-term storage items that, hey, we're running out of.
I'm low on flour.
It'd be cool to make our own
on
flour,
sugar.
but I don't have time to do that. Like, we got enough going on.
Yeah,
so.
we don't have cash and either.
Yeah.
Like, we live on rock and clay. Maybe I can, like, do pottery, and then I can sell pottery to buy the grains to grind the flour.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of they're not, I think they actually stopped doing YouTube, or they're not on the property anymore. They got the property and they were living in a trailer and they were doing a garden, and they were actually trying to do the garden with that soil, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
And it takes, like, we do have friends that are close to us that they do a market garden, and that's, and they've planted in the ground, but he had to amend that soil so much.
Like a whole year of just
I mean, he spent 3 years from the time they bought their property of coming down, because they came from Connecticut. So they would come down a couple times a year to work the property a little bit once they got it cleared off, and fertilize it and just do all the amendments, because he knew his plan for making a living was a market garden, to go to the farmers markets and sell.
Yeah.
So to do that in a raised bed, I mean, we've spent a fortune for our raised bed.
Dirt.
But the good thing is, it's an upfront cost. We did it this year, but now next year we don't have to buy all those initial things. We just have to re-amend.
Yeah, keep working it.
Yeah, and we're doing our own compost. We're
that's where it's at right there, the compost.
Yep, we rely on.
And you got rabbits.
Yeah.
Rabbits.
That was a twofold on the rabbits. Was that instant fertilizer and the meat, being able to.
And I just put in my fall garden. I'm gonna really attempt to do another batch of zucchini, because even though we have monstrous amounts of zucchini, we love zucchini. I cook it every which way but loose. So
thank you, Be Charming.
Yeah.
And you can answer any questions you want for us. That makes it even gooder for us.
And so lettuces I replanted. I had some volunteer tomato plants pop up that, you know what, they are thriving. We're gonna let them go.
Oh, same here.
I'm hoping.
I even have peppers that I haven't grown in 2 years pop up, and I'm like,
yeah, well, peppers are perennial. So you can, and I do plan on, we have what we call the pepper plateau. I guess there's probably 50 pepper plants.
I don't know, it's a lot.
Between all your varieties. And because I save seeds and buy seeds at thrift shops, I was not affected by jalapeno gate. I have jalapenos. They're amazing. No confusions there. So, but they are perennial, and there's a certain way you prune them back, and you can overwinter them. And I'm going to give it a shot. What do I got to lose, right? In fact, there's not a lot of people down here that had a successful pepper harvest this year, but I do.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
Mhm.
Mine, I had some issues because I'm growing in buckets because I'm unfortunately in a city. So I've got this little strip of a house with the little backyard. So I grew some stuff in buckets, and I found out that I have to feed them
A lot more.
instead of my normal time. I feed everything else. Everything else was doing good, and all of a sudden I'm getting icky leaves at the bottom and everything, and I'm like, and I decided to feed them, and then they came back to life again, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I guess I have to feed them more.
Yeah, and like I
It's a
said,
whole learning curve. I
it's a
mean,
learning
it's
curve for our first year
we've
here.
done, like, when we were up in Michigan, we didn't have a full-on garden up there, but we grew a few things. Same
Mhm.
deal, was in buckets. And but yeah, to get down here and have to do everything, we got those lick tubs, the cattle mineral lick tubs,
We have over
Oh yeah,
100 lick tubs. I don't know
and
what we're up to now, but
yeah,
we kind of
so
like it.
it's a learning curve, but it's fun. I mean, and you can move them around
Yeah.
because we're not the layout of the property. I mean, obviously there's a few things that we know for sure, hey, because we've already put them there, that's where it's going to stay. But everything is very fluid at this point right now because we're so fresh on the property that
Everything's
maybe
subject to change.
that's a spot that works for our garden right
Yeah.
now because it's the only one that we have that can get full sun. But we may find another spot that we're like, hey, we want to clear this and put it over there instead.
yeah.
So
That's awesome, B. So she's overwintered pepper plants too. I'm excited to try it. Uh, I never knew that, and I've had
Same thing
peppers
with
in my garden for
tomatoes.
years.
I've seen it done.
Mm.
I've seen a stalk of a tomato that big
Oh, I believe it.
that
You guys
somebody,
are
and this
monsters
was in
on
Florida, that they grew in
yeah.
Florida, and that thing went up, and it was probably 20 feet long.
There's
And I
Clarissa.
didn't believe it was a tomato plant until I traced it down, and there was a tomato at the end of it.
wow.
Yeah. Well, they don't want you to know that. You know what I mean?
Oh
They want
yeah,
you buying the seeds every year or the plants every year. So um I don't know if I'll overwinter any tomatoes, but I mean they're germinating like crazy because when you have to pay for dirt, you reuse the dirt. And so as I'm clearing out
yeah.
older plants or plants that are done, like I don't even know how I got a volunteer tomato plant out of a zucchini bucket. No idea, but we're gonna go with it. It's growing, and it's
Yeah.
growing nice. So we'll see. I
Um,
I do hope to overwinter with the greenhouse. We do have plans to heat it. It's a challenge more than anything and an experiment to see what all I can grow all winter in the greenhouse. We don't know,
yeah,
so we'll see. Stay tuned.
yeah. My zucchinis. I got the first, probably a good two batches from my plants. I didn't plant very many, but then all of a sudden I get the bugs, and
Mhm.
they went in really fast and demolished the plants before I can even spray them or anything. So I got, because I was doing it in grow bags.
Mhm.
So I have this rubber mat that goes in the back of my truck, but I use it for the garden more than anything. I had placed it down, and I dumped the soil on that rubber mat. That way, the sun would kill everything that's inside that, and then I move that dirt back over to um, like a little holding bin until I put it into another
That's a great
spot.
idea.
And
That's a great idea.
I have people coming over all the time. Why do you have your dirt on the mat over there? I said I'm killing all the bugs,
Yeah.
all the bad things in the soil.
I mean,
Does that
Seven
work?
Dust
I
does,
said I
yeah,
don't know. I'm trying it.
right? I mean, Seven Dust does help. But I did see this lady. She had one of those little butane, like almost looks like a little gun lighter type thing, and it won't kill the leaf, but it'll. And you could hear them when she butaned the little seeds on the backs of the leaves.
Oh
You
yeah,
hear them like pop, 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 pop. And because she went around, collected all the adults she could find, and then she did all the leaves. Um, I lost that battle there towards the end, but no, we had a great harvest. They didn't move in till a little later in the season, so
Yeah, that's
hopefully
what
I
happened
can
to
keep
mine.
them out. Yep.
Which I was
Hopefully I can keep them out.
surprised too, because usually they come early
Mm.
because it's cooler, and they came later when it was warm, which is
Yeah.
odd.
Yep. I didn't have too much trouble with the hornworms on the tomatoes until the tomatoes outgrew the tubs and went to the ground. Once they kind of started getting closer to the ground and touching the actual ground, then I had some trouble with the hornworms. But short of that, those haven't been a big issue either.
Yeah, I'm not a bug eater.
No,
No.
haven't had to get hungry enough to eat any bugs.
Yeah.
We gotta say hi to our Michigan life above the
Yeah,
45th.
we're representing.
Clarissa and Jason over there.
Yep, they're a newer channel too, Michigan Life above the 45th parallel. They're out of Michigan, and they're weekend warriors right now, working on their land so that they can move out and do the whole homesteading thing too. So, super good
Yeah.
friends. We've met.
They
in
seem to like
person.
that white stuff, so they stayed up there.
We
Yeah.
tried, but super awesome folks. Give
I'm
them
not a fan of it.
no. That's why we're in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I had,
But
I had
but
seen
then again, I see you guys working, and you're going, and then I'm like, I don't know. I'm up here. It's still hot, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, we didn't totally get away from the snow and cold either. Like it does
we get
freeze
it.
down here,
Yeah.
and we'll
Oh
get
yeah.
snow.
And I'm
I
cold
think
all the time.
the biggest thing that I noticed, was just the fact that when you get snow down here in the south, the next day it'll be blue skies and sunshine. As to where up there it's just 4 months of just gray gloominess, and you never see the actual sun. You know it's
Yeah.
there because it's light
Yeah.
out.
Depression sets
Go
in.
out and
We're
shovel,
sun people.
and
We're
then
sun people.
and
Yeah.
then the next day it's all back on there again.
Yep. Or
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
long, extended, frigid
So
cold.
but it is. I mean, you've got to like everywhere that you live. Like I haven't, we haven't found that like perfect climate year round type deal around here, and
Yeah.
so you're gonna get one or the other, and
I'll take the heat.
yeah, it's one of those. It's a good reason to take a break a lot of times. Like, hey, you get up, you work for 4 or 5 hours in the morning,
Yeah.
Or we'll split
and
our
then
time between like early mornings, we'll be in the garden and then take a break. And then in the afternoons, we'll jump into the tiny house and keep working on the tiny house. So, yeah, divide and conquer on chores and divide and conquer on jobs. So, it's kind of
Yeah.
what we've been doing.
Okay, we're almost at the hour mark, so
I know that's crazy.
go ahead and do a last little hoorah, I guess, and talk everybody into coming and checking your channel out and whatnot. And
Well, I mean, I would say that, getting out and meeting other channels has been huge. And we love to have visitors come to our channel and check us out. But we also want to earn you to stay. There's a difference between just subscribing to some channel and actually becoming involved in a channel and following the journey and going on that journey with us. And I know we don't take it lightly when someone subscribes to us. Like, we appreciate you and we want to earn you to stay, because that's what it's all about. I mean, there's tons of channels out there, and if all you have are channels subscribing to you, then
well, and what
yeah,
you see is what you get with our
yeah,
channel. Like
absolutely.
we're the same people sitting here talking to you that we are in our videos and that we are in person. And YouTube, we didn't start YouTube with the intention that it was going to grow into anything.
Right.
It was literally
I know
kind of
that.
going back to our original story. Was we moved away from all of our friends, family, and everybody we ever knew from up north to a place that we knew nobody.
Yeah.
And so what better way to keep them up to date so that we could still get work done? So, and now we've just met a ton of amazing people
Yeah.
and having a great time.
It's
So
awesome. We love it.
you never know what you're going to find on the channel.
We're
Like,
goofballs.
it says Homestead, and we do everything that's a homestead.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of everything.
I leave the goofy stuff in. I don't cut out the bloopers because it is who we are. So
Yeah.
there's that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll go ahead and pop your link in there again if it works.
Awesome. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you for having us on for the
Oh,
invite.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's so awesome to see all of these names up in the chat that we know and we don't know. Like it's awesome. Thank you so much for having us. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, it was my pleasure. And I will be live. The next my next live will be actually on my backup channel.
Oh,
I'm sorry I have to actually have a backup channel, but I'll be over there. We're doing 80s trivia night, so something
fun. We love those.
something fun.
Yep, we are going to. Are we still going to make our supply run tonight, or is that tomorrow?
I don't know yet. It got dark. We gotta go
It
lock up some
did.
chickens and
Yeah, do evening chores. But thank you guys, all of you in the chat that have been here. I do want to go back and read through all of those. I appreciate y'all being here, and thank you so much for showing up to meet us. And Gage too, and Carissa, and everybody. So we appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Alrighty, bye bye.
Bye bye.